And so I think though when we present these to people, sometimes people will just throw out all these arguments, or they'll throw out things. It's easy to step on a landmine. Once again, get inside the other person's head and think of what your words will mean to them. Mm-hmm. It's hard because you have to think before we speak. And sometimes you learn the lessons the hard way. In Colossians 4:6, St. Paul says, let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so you know what to say to every man. And for example, so I was born this way. So I don't see anything wrong with that. And the retort is, pedophiles say that they're born that way. Does that make pedophilia okay?
Yeah, a bit abrasive.
Well, because what the other person hears from that is, so you're basically saying I'm a pedophile, or I'm no better than a pedophile.
Right.
And so here, asking questions, because I want them to grapple with it. If you just throw out the defeater to the argument, the rebutter, you could have the backfire effect happen.
Yeah.
But I want to ask them questions. So here I might say, well, help me understand. And the questions, you don't have to I can't think of this amazing, insightful question Trent Horn's going to come up with. You don't have to do that. Ask them, what do they think? Why do they think that? And is this what you meant? Anyone can do those three things. Mm-hmm. What do you think about this? Why do you think that? And is this what you meant?
Or give us an example.
Well, with that, I would say, okay, help me understand. What do you think about homosexual behavior? And here they've given an argument, so I might just ask a clarifying question. It sounds to me like you're saying there's nothing wrong with engaging in homosexual behavior because I'm not choosing this. This is a feeling that I've had for a very long time, maybe since puberty or even before that. Is that what you're saying? Mm-hmm. Now here, I think what happens in our discourse, sometimes we think, okay, we both know that's what the person is thinking. So here's my rebutter argument.
Yeah.
Let's slow down just a little bit because I want it to be explicit to that person for them to really think it through in that regard. Okay. So I'd say, all right, help me understand where you're coming from. So then then would you agree then the larger principle? Are you saying that it's okay for a person to engage in a behavior because they have always felt inclined towards that behavior for a very, very long time? Is that what you are saying?
Yes.
And notice this approach is gentle.
Much gentler.
And I'm just trying to see.
They can see the person, they see where you're going, but you're not going there right away.
I'm not going there right away. And it's coming from a genuine spirit of I'm trying to understand you.
Right.
And make sense of the argument and the reasons you're putting forward. And then I might have a more specific challenge, and I'll try to think of one that's less abrasive. So with that, I was born this way. Two examples that I put forward are, I would say that many men feel a polyamorous orientation ever since puberty. They want to sleep with anything that can move, basically. Some guys are. And yet, that doesn't mean they should always act on that orientation, especially if they're in a committed relationship or a marriage. And the person could see, you have this very, very strong feeling you may not want to act on. Or another example I'll give is some people will have very, very short tempers. There are some people, if you have known them from infancy, they have had a short temper.
Yeah. They blame it on their Irish temper or something.
Or they could literally say, I was born this way. Yeah. I was angry the moment I came out of the womb.
I've got footage of it when I was 1.
Yeah. Or even 1 week old, 1 day old. And yet, just because you may be predisposed in that way doesn't mean it would be right for you to bite somebody's head off or to throw a tantrum or things like that. Just because we're wired a certain way doesn't mean we ought to act on that. And then, of course, then there'll be a reply. Say, well, those other examples, they harm other people. I don't see how this is harming anyone. Okay, well, let's talk about that. So now we've set aside one issue, and then another issue rises. Let's ask, why do you believe that? Do you think there could be exceptions to that? Could it lead to, in philosophy, we call this reductio ad absurdum. Mm-hmm. And so I wouldn't say that, let's do a reductio ad absurdum to show what you believe is crazy, because that's not going to be inviting. Mm-hmm. But to say, I'm trying to understand where you're coming from. And if it's true, I would believe it. But I'm concerned that what you believe would lead to these other beliefs I'm very, very uncomfortable with. Right. And I think you may be uncomfortable with as well. Right. Can you help me see how maybe it doesn't lead to those beliefs? Or maybe I shouldn't be uncomfortable with those beliefs? And then I walked them through the argument. You can do this with sexual ethics, with abortion. I do that on Catholic Answers Live all the time. Yeah. And you can do this also. We've touched on a lot of different ways of defending the faith, even when you are a Catholic talking to a Protestant friend. Mm-hmm. I think many Catholics, this is the cardinal or paradigmatic example of the when they say, you say mentality that Catholics have been taught for decades when it comes to apologetics. If a Protestant says this, you need to point to this Bible verse and this Bible verse. A lot of Catholics just, and even I myself, I'm not super great at memorizing chapters and verses.
Right.
I'm just not.
So you could ask questions.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, you will absolutely love the full interview, so click right there to enjoy the whole thing. Also, a big thanks to these groups who made that interview possible. Learn more in the show notes below about these guys. They're absolutely incredible and honored to have them as sponsors. Oh, and also, if you haven't subscribed yet, click subscribe and then that bell button. That way YouTube will be forced to let you know when we put out more content.